Welcome to Bobblehead Homestead. I am Jeff. This video is going to be my life story up until now. And this is like the 6th or 7th time I've tried to film it. Unbelievable. Since out in the country, came down and took down 2 sheds and packed up an entire dumpster, and not a regular dumpster, a huge dumpster of trash, and hauled it out and organized recycling metal to go out. Anyway, they were incredible, but also incredible in sending me very nice commenters and viewers, and my views and subscribers, and blah, it's all still sinking in. But I have been wanting to do kind of a get to know me video, so this is going to be it. And in all my other videos I talk too long, we'll see if I do it again. Let's see. So I'll just give a little bit of background up until I got here, and then I'll probably do another video on this place and what some of my dreams are. Anyway, this channel started out as the Peoria Dude, because I was born and raised just outside of Peoria, Illinois, Washington, Illinois. Lived there my entire life until I graduated from high school. Graduated when I was 17. Let's see, growing up, we went camping all the time. All the time. It seemed like in the summer, at least once a month, usually twice a month. And then a lot of times we get a 2-week vacation in. So I went to, Yellowstone, Mobile, Alabama, Washington, D.C. We went up to Canada, Mackinac Island a few times, Door County, the Badlands, Mount Rushmore. I have so many memories of going around the country, kind of like the Hollar Homestead, shout out, kind of like they're doing now, although we weren't living on the road, we just took every opportunity to go. So yeah, I did that growing up. I was also in Boy Scouts, a lot of camping involved there, and outdoor wildernessy type experiences. Went to Boy Scout camp for a week in the summer, and so that was cool. I played a lot of sports as a youngster. Basketball, I was on the school basketball team in 8th grade, and that was the end of my basketball career, except for a few stints. Anyway, baseball, I loved playing baseball. That was what I enjoyed. I played that until my junior year of high school in summer leagues, not school ball. And let's see, I played third base, I played second base. I ended up as a catcher, though. I did that for a few years, and I wasn't too bad. Because, anyway. So yeah, baseball, I still have a love of baseball. Chicago Cubs. I don't get into it as much as I used to. They won the World Series finally, so I can calm down on that front. But their minor league team was in Peoria. And I went to a lot of those games growing up and saw some, Greg Maddux, Mark Grace, Joe Girardi, people like that playing before they were anybody. And so that was kind of cool. In high school, I was heavily involved in music. Also I started playing the trumpet and singing in the chorus in grade school. In high school, I played trumpet at the high school for marching band and concert band. But I played the tuba outside of school in the Central Illinois Youth Symphony. And not a lot of the high schools had symphonies or concert orchestras with full string sections. And so this, you had to audition for it, and it wasn't just a freebie. But so that was fun. And so I have a real appreciation for classical music. Yeah, here comes Bob, little dude. Number 2. So I have a real appreciation for classical music and just, music in general. I don't do rap. I don't really do modern country. I like the classics, and classic rock and jazz and bluegrass, and Dolly Parton has just been on repeat for a while. I'm digging one of her albums. So yeah, I went to, let's see, before I went to college, summer after my junior year of high school, I went to Oregon, Illinois to work as a camp counselor for a summer camp, the Lutheran Outdoor Ministry Center in Oregon, Illinois. A lot of great activity outdoors there, and spending it. I was still a kid myself, so I was just having fun with kids that were just 5 or 6 years younger than me. But I did that the very next summer also. Let's see. I also started working at McDonald's in high school when I was a sophomore. A friend of mine and I had been mowing yards for several summers, and one day we got shut down. I won't tell that whole story. But the person whose yard we were mowing just happened to be one of the managers or co-owners, I don't remember, of the local McDonald's. So he gave me a job, and I started out picking up trash in the parking lot and cleaning bathrooms and taking the trash out and mopping floors, and I worked my way up to a cook. I don't know, it helped me buy my first car and put gas in the tank through high school. So yeah, McDonald's. While also playing the tuba, and in high school I was in the choirs. I was in a show choir, singing and dancing, and we had some great trips: Disneyland, Disney World, whichever one is which, and then a lot of performances around the community. So that was a good experience. Also went to college at Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois, on a tuba scholarship. So yeah, that helped pay for the bulk of my college. It turns out that good tuba players aren't that plentiful. So I got recruited by a lot of schools in Illinois and some in surrounding states also, and that was a big bonus. I started out as a music major at Millikan, but my sophomore year I switched to become a business major. I guess, yeah, who knows why. It didn't turn out all that bad. Let's see, in college I was involved in a fraternity, Delta Sigma Phi fraternity. It was a fraternity that was not on campus. It had been on campus like 10 years earlier, and they had been shut down. So alumni in the area wanted to get it started back up. So they started recruiting some students to start it back up, and I was one of them. And so I had a lot of fun. I was the president of the fraternity for a little over 2 years, I think. We started out just meeting in classrooms, and my junior year we were able to grow in size to where we actually had a house of our own. So it was a place for a handful of us to live, and we could hang out and watch The Simpsons and just have general fun. It was a great group of diverse guys, and we did a lot of community service. You hear bad things about fraternities, and they really aren't. It depends on the situation. And these days I have no idea what colleges are like in this day and age. I wouldn't even recommend college for most people these days, unless it's a specialized degree. Don't get me off on tangents. So yeah, fraternity was cool. I graduated. I went from 88 to 92. I did take a few classes in summer school after I graduated because I switched majors, but I got my degree in business administration, Bachelor of Science. I've focused mostly on accounting. Business administration is kind of a general degree where you take marketing and economics and all kinds of stuff. But for your electives, I mostly took accounting classes for my electives. Let's see, after college, I hung out with a guy who was trying to start a little farm. So I got a little exposure back then for, I don't know, about a year and a half. But during that time, I was working full-time at a hotel in Peoria. I worked, didn't start off, I started off as a third shift front desk person for 2 nights a week. And then the other 3 shifts I did were 7 to 3 p.m. or 3 to 11 p.m. So my sleep was all kinds of weird. And But it paid off because it was Marriott, Fairfield Inn, Marriott owned hotel, and I got to go into their management training program. So I did that, went down to training in Marietta, Georgia. That's where their training hotel was, and I spent a lot of time there. It was right next to a Dave & Buster's. I also spent a lot of time at the Dave & Buster's. And then for the first year as a manager, I was what was called a bench manager, and I was a youngster then. I was probably still 24. Yeah. So I would go around the country, and there were new hotels opening up in the Marriott chain. I worked for Marriott itself. A lot of those hotels were franchises, but it was, you know, part of the agreement. If they want our name on their hotel, they have to, you know, use our procedures. So I would go to each location for 3 weeks to 2 months. I would hire the front desk staff, hire the housekeeping staff, hire the facility staff, train them. There would be a team of usually 3 of us that were working in that area. So it was, well, yeah, sometimes 2, but usually it was 3 people. And so I did that for a year. So I opened hotels in, oh gosh, Ponca City, Oklahoma. That was interesting. They were filming the movie Twister there at the time with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt and Jamie Gertz, and I got to meet them because they all wanted to stay in our hotel, and we weren't quite open yet, and I was the dude from Marriott, so I was the one who could say whether or not we could open. Rochester, New York twice in the winter. That wasn't cool. And several other places. I lost my train of thought because I got interrupted. Let's see, after my time being a bench manager, living out of a suitcase, flying around, driving around, I finally got my hotel management job at my own hotel in Johnson City, Tennessee. Beautiful eastern Tennessee, right in the Smoky Mountains, maybe a half an hour from Asheville, North Carolina. We went down, we held our Christmas parties at the Biltmore. And that was just, and all of the fall festivals with the leaves, and you know, that was a cool experience because I participated in the Tourism Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce, the Visitors and Convention Center bureaus, and all those, you know, stuff like that to help promote my hotel and help promote tourism in the area. So I got to know the area pretty well, and that's a great area. I said I might end up retiring there someday. You never know. The weather was nice. It was kind of similar to here, where you don't have bad winters at all, but the summers can get kind of hot. And yeah, I loved Tennessee. But with the hotel job, if you want a raise and a promotion, you got to go to a new hotel. So from there I managed a Courtyard in Glenview, Illinois, and I lived in Evanston, Illinois. So that was a raise and a promotion. In between that, I had to go for training on that new hotel's procedures, and that was in the Washington, D.C. area. That's where Marriott was headquartered. And so, let's see, I did that for a couple years, and then I got burnout and just had a bad experience with not my staff, but people above me, and so that was the end of you don't make a lot of money, and it's, you know, the busiest times of the day are people checking out starting at 6 a.m. and people checking in starting at 4 to 5 p.m. And so that makes for really long days. But it was a good experience. I learned a lot. You know, when I was in Tennessee, we had an ice storm. None of my staff made it in. I had to clean 100 toilets that day. Stuff like that happened. So I think it teaches you a work ethic, and so that was a good experience. Let's see, from there I did some temp work for a while. Then I moved back down to Peoria, and I became a sales engineer for an indoor air quality company. We sold air filters, and the ones that you put in your furnace, but also ones that go in hospital surgical suites where you don't want any viruses or bugs flying around. And manufacturing facilities for pharmaceuticals, they don't want any type of contamination when they are producing their medicines. Same with electronics manufacturers. One speck of dust on a wafer board can ruin it, and so they want their air to be as pure as possible. Caterpillar Tractor Company was our biggest customer, and they were, in order to test the emissions of their tractors, well, you have to be able to measure before and after. And so the before picture, they want 0 particles in there, so they know how many particles are coming out the exhaust. So stuff like that. And I did that for a couple of years, and that was a learning experience. I went through most of the manufacturing facilities in central Illinois, and cars. Mitsubishi had a plant in Bloomington, Illinois, and part of the process is painting a car. Well, you don't want any specks of dust on that paint job. So that was another place where high-end filtration and consulting took place. So I did that for a while, and that then I had a change of, I don't know. Once again, I don't know. Change in focus. That was my late 20s. I was just hitting, well, I hit 30. That was probably it. And I just decided to go a different direction in life, and I got into politics. I became involved with the Libertarian Party. I then became the executive director of the Libertarian Party of Illinois, and I did that for a couple years. I was their employee. I wasn't the dude in charge. I just worked for them. Although they're incompetent. I'll just say that. I'm not a member of the party anymore, and they really have to convince me strongly to get me to vote for them. But anyway, I did that for a couple years. In the process, I was also the campaign manager for 2 U.S. Senate candidates in 2002 and 2004. The candidate in 2004 that I was the campaign manager for was running against Barack Obama and Alan Keyes. So that was an interesting experience. I also spent a lot of time down in the state capitol trying to testify in hearings about legislation that would affect the Libertarian Party, or just freedom in general. And so that was interesting. They made fun of me a lot. I was the outsider down there, and but I was cool with everybody. So I was kind of a different person back then, though. I don't need the stress anymore, so that's partly why I'm here, is get rid of the political stress. It's in my blood, I can't help it, but anyway, after the Libertarian Party, I stayed involved in politics, mainly on single issues. I was not involved in party politics. I moved to Chicago and worked downtown at a taxpayer advocacy group. We did a lot of research and reporting on tax-related legislation that was going through and the effects on that. I did that for a year, and that was after I found out I had Parkinson's. Let's see, from there I went out to Washington State, the Seattle area, for about 3 years, and I was working on other political issues out there. From there I went down to Sacramento for a couple years, and again was working on specific issues. One of those was they changed the voting system in California to a top 2 system, and so I worked on that campaign to oppose that, and it passed anyway. And now man, just talk about stupidity. They can't understand 3rd grade math. California, working on specific issues. I had Parkinson's out there. I lived very poorly and frugally and minimalist. I wasn't, I consider myself a minimalist now, but it was more out of necessity, and now I've just embraced it that, don't spend money on something that really isn't going to help you all that much. You can't be 100%, but yeah. So I've been living like that for quite a while. Let's see, from Sacramento, I came back to Illinois. and I lived in outside of Bloomington, Illinois for a few years, and then I lived in Champaign for a couple years, and it was during those years that I was really dreaming of getting my own place. You know, not having to pay lot rent, not having to pay rent, not having to pay a mortgage, blah, blah, blah. So I had really been dreaming of an opportunity like this for 5 years at least. So yeah, so that's kind of where I've been and what I've done, and now hopefully this wasn't a half an hour long. I will do another video soon and talk about this place and what I've done so far and where I think I'm going. Okay, take her easy, everybody.
Grumpy's on my bed. Yeah, you're on my bed, Grumpy. You want to take a nap? I don't mind if you take a nap there. Yeah. Fifi will not come in my room. She just won't. I can pick her up and put her on my bed. She'll instantly jump down and start pawing at the door. Bob has wandered in here a couple times. I keep my door closed at all times. But he's come in, I've let him come in, and he'll stay as long as I give him attention. But as soon as I stop giving him attention, he will start scratching at the door. So now it's Grumpy's turn. And Grumpy's been outside for a couple nights. Well, I brought him in, left the window open, and he was gone in the morning. So I'll stop talking, leave him alone, and maybe he can take a nice nap in the air conditioning. Yeah. Don't pee on my bed, Grumpy. Please don't pee on my bed. Okay. Good night, folks.